So my amplitude is always my A value. My period is always, and so because this is in pi over 4, this tells me I'm working in radians. So my period is always 2 pi divided by my B value, pi. The phase shift is simply a positive pi over 4, or if you wanted to give the direction, pi over 4 to the right. And the vertical displacement is always the D value. It's going to be 2. Okay. All right, and then last question. We're given a graph and we're asked to talk about these same characteristics. Amplitude, max minus the min, divided by 2. So my amplitude is 2. The period is found in this case simply by looking at the graph. I'm going to start on the y-axis. I'm going to sketch one cycle of my graph. That would be my period. My period would be 2 pi. Phase shift. Well, this depends on the type of function that you have. If this is a cosine function, my maximum is starting on my y-axis, so there is no phase shift. Not applicable if cosine function. If this was a sine function, thinking about where that central axis is, so let's do our vertical displacement. Maximum minus the amplitude is -1. So this tells me my central axis is here. So remember, a sine function starts on the central axis and begins in the upward direction. So I'm looking for this point. Where did this point move to? So I'm looking for this point on the central axis, and I would say it's right here. So this is kind of the halfway point between 0 and negative pi, technically. So this would be negative pi over 4 units if a sine function. So you can talk about your phase shift either as a negative or positive, or if you'd rather talk about this in terms of a direction, you could also say pi over 2 units left, right? Or just negative pi over 2. Okay, and so this is, in essence, the sine and cosine functions and transformations related to them.